What's up, Shady Sports Network? I'm back here with another player interview. I had Mr. Gallington with me. Deveric, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on here and share a little bit of my story.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you coming on. So recently I saw that you got married. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so me and my wife got married last November. We've been together a little over 6 years now. It was just, it was about time. So we decided to make it official. So, but yeah, it's pretty much newlyweds.
That's awesome. So, you had a crazy career. I remember watching you. You played for my Pirates. Let's go all the way back here to your high school career. Were you a multi-sport athlete in high school?
Yeah, so just taking a little bit further back before high school, I actually started playing football in 8th grade. I had just moved to a small suburb in Fort Worth called North Richland Hills. I was pretty much the biggest kid in the whole middle school, and I remember a kid came up to me. I'll never forget his name. His name was AJ Garcia. He walked up to me and was like, "Hey, man, do you play football?" And I was like, "No." And I was like disrespected because I always had hoop dreams. I always wanted to go to the NBA, but obviously I didn't have the size for it. But that from that moment forward, I went home and told my grandmother that I wanted to, try to play football. And fast forward to high school, I was just something I was just a natural at. I had the God-given abilities to do so, and in high school I excelled. But I was a multi-sport athlete. I did football, I did track and field, so I threw shot put and discus, and I did a year of powerlifting as well. Then my senior year, after my football season, I decided to play basketball so I could hang out with two of my best friends. They were basketball guys, so that was just our time to kind of hang out.
So when I look at your size for basketball, I would look at you as someone like Dwight Howard. You're you're a big guy.
Dwight Howard, he's about 6'11", broad shoulders, but obviously I'm 300 plus pounds and he's probably about 220. So there's a big difference there. But I like that comparison though. I like Dwight Howard.
Man, I don't know. Nowadays, if you went one-on-one with Dwight, I would have to take you,
I appreciate that.
But so after high school, when did you fully commit to football?
Pretty much. So I got my first recruiting letter. I had did a combine for Scout.com going into my junior year or my senior year. I don't quite remember, but my head coach was against it. He didn't think I was ready. Then I was like, no, I got an invite, so I'm going. And that combine, I just completely I did an amazing job. I was going against the top D end in the state of Texas at the time, and I beat them in every one-on-one. And so from then, my stock just went through the roof. So going into my senior year, I had over 34 ride offers. I was, a top 60 player in the state of Texas, top 20 in my position in the nation. But I would say going into my junior years when I started to really take it seriously, when I got my first letter. I remember that letter. It was a letter from Oklahoma State, and I was like, wow, I can go to college for this. So that's when I really started to buckle down and take it seriously.
So you went to Texas Tech,
mm-hmm.
which is a huge program, program I personally think that's headed back to their glory days. How was that whole experience playing there?
So that experience was amazing. I always like to say, my time at Tech and in college was the best time of my life. Made a lot of, long-lasting relationships there. The memories that I have there, I'll never forget. I'll take those to the grave with me. I'll be able to tell my grandkids about those. But it was a wonderful experience. Tech is definitely a college town. All that mattered there at the time I was there was college football. We were a football town. So game days were, it was amazing just waking up on that morning, hearing the people outside tailgating and getting off the bus and going down that tunnel, man. It's still to this day, even, when I was briefly in the NFL running out those tunnels, it still wasn't the same. So those memories are memorable.
For sure. College is a special time. So who were some of the quarterbacks you played with at your time at Tech?
So my freshman year, that was the 2008 season where we beat Texas, the Michael Crabtree catch on the sideline. So obviously Graham Harrell was there. After that, we had a few quarterbacks. So Taylor Potts, Steven Sheffield, Seth Dagey, those are primarily my three quarterbacks that I played that I blocked for.
So, I mean, Michael Crabtree, what was your relationship like with him?
He was an older guy. Obviously, he was very, very, very popular on campus. So the relationship, he was like the team barber. He used to cut hair in the locker room and whatnot. But he was always somebody, that I just looked up to that worked hard, extremely hard in practice. So it was cool to share a locker room with that guy for that brief time. But he was just somebody as a freshman coming in, you could look at and be like, man, I like his work ethic. I want to kind of mold my work ethic after, take some things from him. So the time was cool.
That's really cool. He went on to have a pretty successful NFL career. So after college, how was your professional opportunity looking like?
So after college, after my last game, which was our bowl game that we had in Houston, the Meineke Car Care Bowl, I moved back home to DFW, started training, getting ready for my pro day. I wasn't invited to the combine, but I started getting ready for my pro day. Got to pro day, did very, very well. So I was kind of thinking leading up to the draft that I was going to get like a 6th or 7th round possible name call. I was getting, pre-recruiting calls from teams and doing questionnaires and things of that nature. So I was feeling kind of good about it. So the draft comes around. My name didn't get called, but shortly after the draft, literally probably about 20 minutes after it was over, my phone started to ring for some free agent offers. The Lions, I believe the Jaguars, and the Raiders. So I decided to, go with the Raiders. Thought that was the best position, to make a roster. And from there, got to mini camp. So as you may know, at Texas Tech, my first year playing center was my senior year, which we were an air raid offense. We passed a lot, so we did all shotgun snaps. So I get to mini camp. We do under center snaps, and it's a different technique. So I couldn't get any of the snaps to connect, so we couldn't get any plays off. And unfortunately, they had to do what they had to do. They let me go. And then shortly after, I got a call from the Arizona Cardinals, and I was there for training camp. Made it to the second rounds. Unfortunately, got cut during the second rounds. Then from there, my introduction to arena football happened. So, my agent was big on staying active, getting film, staying in physical shape just in case the phone decides to ring again. So I decided to go out to Spokane, Washington. This was back in 2014, I believe. That organization was a professionally ran organization. That I like to think of Spokane, Washington as my second home because, it was kind of like a place where I reinvented myself, kind of found myself and, things of that nature. But that was my introduction to the arena game was in Spokane. I was a 2-year starter there before I got hurt. My rookie year, I got hurt till the season ended. And then I came back my sophomore year and started out there. Then I took my talents to Portland after that, after 2 seasons in Spokane. Went to Portland out there, started out there. That team during the season, before the season started, the ownership fell through. So at the time in the AFL, if your ownership falls through, then all the other teams had to pick up the slack just to keep the team afloat for the season. So it was that wasn't the best of season, but yeah. Then after that, I took a year off. And then decided to get back on the field. So I signed with the Spokane Empire when they joined the IFL. Went over there to help them make a playoff run. They lost the first playoff game, and that was about it. Then I was signed to a team in Jacksonville, signed to the Jacksonville Sharks after that, but didn't make my way out there. I had got a job here at home and decided to stay here at home. And then from there, it was kind of just I was signed with teams for playoff push when they would need like a veteran presence on the O-line and some, to boost the protection and so forth. So, but before that, back in right before COVID is the last AFL season. Before that season folded, I was with the Washington Valor. Started every game at right guard. I had a very, very great season there. So the buzz was kind of starting to get up after that. What was COVID? COVID was 2020, so I guess that was 2019. So my name I started to ring a few bells, started to get some interest. So I decided to go to the, what do you call that? It's like the showcase. What is that deal called? The Spring Football League in Vegas. Went out there, did really well, got some film at every position on the O-line. That's one thing I've always prided myself on was my versatility. I could play all 5 positions on the O-line. And then COVID happened, so that kind of shut everything down. But I was getting some interest from the XFL because they were getting ready to start back up. But yeah, that's pretty much my background in summation.
For sure. So you've had experience everywhere.
Yeah.
Throughout your career, what are some quarterbacks that you played with that you really enjoyed?
Ah, man, there's been a lot of really fun quarterbacks. I would say one of my top guys was Arvell Nelson. He's currently playing for the San Antonio Gunslingers. He's been trying to get me to come out there, but like I said, I've officially hung him up. But Arvell Nelson, he's a guy with a lot of swagger and confidence. Then obviously as an offensive lineman, you really like having a quarterback like that in your huddle that, no matter if you do make a mistake, that he's going to be like, he's going to have your back at all times pretty much. So a guy like that, you definitely want to make sure you want to keep him clean just because, you rock with him like that. So Arvell Nelson was a quarterback that I really enjoyed playing for and blocking. I played with him in Spokane. I played with him in Washington with the Valor. But I would say Arvell is probably my favorite that I've, had the pleasure of playing with.
For sure. So you've had a long career and you've seen organizations that are run well. You've seen organizations that have struggles. Obviously, the sore subject is, the NAL this year had 2 teams fold in 2 weeks. What makes organizations unsuccessful?
I would say having unrealistic expectations. Making sure you come into the league with realistic expectations, not biting off more than you can chew, so to speak. And then hiring, I think if you bring in a coach that has been around at a high level in this arena game, then it definitely helps you out, helps you sustain longevity in the league. But I think those 2 things in itself are 2 of the most important components of having a successful organization.
I would agree with you. I wish we had more successful organizations around. I know we have a lot of them, but with the AFL coming back, I saw you, react to the news on Facebook. You teased a little bit. Me personally, I think you have a solid 5 to 6 years left in the tank.
Oh yeah, I definitely do, man. Like I could definitely still play. I've been fortunate enough. Like back in college, I started 38 consecutive games in the Big 12. So I've always prided myself on taking care of my body. And I've just been blessed not to have any major injuries during my career. So there's definitely more in the tank, but, I can walk away from the game knowing that, I gave it all I had. And right now it's just focusing on the next venture in my life, that I'm going to live the rest of my life without football. So it's just starting to, get that set in stone and focusing on the future.
What are you currently involved in?
So I work in the sports nutrition industry. So I work for Ghost Lifestyle. It's a sports nutrition company, probably the top company in the country. So I work in the sports nutrition space. So I'm a regional sales manager. So I oversee all the Southwest region, all of our specialty accounts and GNC and vitamin shops.
Man, that seems like a really fun job.
Yep.
That's really
a lot
good.
of fun. So, yeah, so I was like, once I was done with football, I wanted to do something that I was truly passionate about. And given the fact that I've been working out since I was 15, I knew I liked to work out. I knew I liked to take supplements. So I started working at GNC part-time, just to get a discount on my products. And I just fell in love with the culture of learning products, building relationships with customers. And then, I was a manager at GNC for about 5.5 years. GNC was a job that, in the summer I could go play football and come back in the off season and have a set up job where I can come back to. So, but I always knew, when I was working at GNC that I wanted to work with a sports nutrition company. So, and here I am. So I'm doing that. So I wanted to make sure I was doing something I was passionate about, that drove me, that was competitive, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
So I find that awesome. You followed your passion. I think more guys need to, follow their dreams and, venture outside of football. So currently, what is your daily routine looking like?
Daily routine. So, I'm 100% remote. I build out my own schedules. So essentially, I wake up. I'm a morning person. I like to get in the gym first thing in the morning before I start my day. So I usually get in there. Depending on what time I wake up, since I don't have to be at work at a certain time, I'll get in there in between 7 and 9, somewhere in there. Come home, shower up, make a protein shake, and then I'll get to work. So depending on what I have to do that day, I'll hit my stores, or I'll travel the market, or I might have an office day where I'm at home and I'm just making phone calls, and things of that nature, or mailing out packages and things of that nature. But that's essentially my day to day. Then later in the day, me and my wife is a full-time nanny. She'll come home. We'll kind of spend some time together. I might play a little bit of 2K on the PlayStation. And then that's essentially my day, man. I'm naturally a homebody. I love being at home. I don't like going out, so I just stay in my little bubble and stay out the way.
For sure. So that's one of the debates I've been having lately. Do you personally think, as someone who works out, it's better to shower in the morning or at night?
It just depends. Like I said, I'm a morning person and I'm a sweater when I work out, so I have to shower after I get home from the gym. So, I think, because obviously I live here in Dallas, Texas, and it's hot and it's humid. I think that showering in the morning is better because it's a little bit cooler. So you say if you shower later in the day, you don't feel super hot when you get out the shower. So I would say morning. But it depends on your schedule for sure.
For sure. So currently in the arena game, who are some guys you enjoy to watch?
Oh man. So when I first came into the AFL, which, as we all know at the time, was the top arena league in the country, there was a lot of phenomenal talent across the league. I think we had about 14 to 16 teams at the time. So guys that, there were a lot of good guys. Nick Davila, the quarterback for the Rattlers, Benson, the fullback, Tyree Glasper, the Mac, Francis Maka, Stewart. I got to play with a lot of good guys: James Ruffin, Jeremy Gathers, Terrence Taylor, Derek Summers. The league was just stacked with the high quality talent. There was no off weeks. There was not a team that you could look at and be like, "Oh, this is an off week for us." You were going to be playing against the top guys every single week. So there were a lot. I just named a few, but there were a lot of really talented guys that I enjoyed watching and playing alongside and playing against.
For sure. No, I feel like back in the day, and I mean, still now, but back in the day, especially, arena football was stats with guys who I feel like could make the jump right away to the NFL.
Yeah, and then obviously we had the TV deals at the time. That's another big thing. We were on ESPN, CBS. All the arenas were packed out for the most part. It was a big deal. So hopefully with the relaunch, that would be nice to see. That would be nice for them to get back to that, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out, for sure.
Would you ever consider coming back in the coaching role?
Nah, I'm not. I've always, a lot of people have inquired about me getting into coaching, but I like to tell people, if I'm being honest, like, I was never a guy that just lived and breathed football. I just wasn't. It was something that I was naturally good at. It taught me a lot of tools that I could take outside of football and apply to my everyday life, things as far as discipline, dedication, work ethic. And it was just something that I applied myself to and worked hard at and reaped the benefits of. So essentially, I like to say that I was able to use football and I didn't let it use me. I walked away from the game fully healthy. I have my college degree. I was able to, play for over 8 years as a professional and be compensated for, it was my job. So, but as far as coaching, no, I can't see myself coaching.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think it's good. You have your balance right now. So a couple last questions here. Where do you see yourself personally in your personal life in the next 2 to 3 years?
Next 2 to 3 years. So I've been with Ghost a little over 3.5 months now. So ultimately continuing to grow in this space and seeing where that takes me. I'm very competitive. So I want to master what I'm doing now and then go from there, whatever that looks like in my profession. So continuously, pushing myself to get, to grow my profession. And then after that, family-wise, starting a family, me and my wife, welcoming and expanding our home. But yeah, man, just expanding my family and continuously, grinding and improving my profession in my professional field.
For sure. And then what is your biggest piece of advice to younger people?
What I would say is I know today in today's age, it's a lot different with social media and whatnot. When I was coming up, we didn't have that. But I would say just, everybody knows right from wrong. Just staying, if you have something that you can obtain and that's right there in front of you, just stay out of trouble. Keep yourself busy. Right from wrong. And at the end of the day, no one can stop you but yourself. So just work hard, be humble, and go after whatever it is that you want, go get it. But just stay out the way and be blessed.
Stay out of trouble, man. That's the biggest thing.
Facts.
Sure.
You don't feel peer pressure to do something you don't want to do or it's not right. Stick to your morals and stand on those things, man. That's what really matters at the end of the day. So it's okay to be yourself. You don't have to fit in with other people. It's okay to be you.
Definitely. Well, I really want to thank you. Appreciate your time today. I really enjoyed speaking with you. I wish you the best of luck. Is there anyone you would like to shout out? And where can we find more about your brand?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I want to give a shout out to, I still watch the NAL games. There's a lot of guys that I played with or against. So I want to give a shout out to, those boys over there in San Antonio, Arvell, James, Atoy, Calvin Fant, and those guys over there, Josh Reese, and then a few other guys that Brandon Cisse over there in Orlando, Darius Prince and those guys, Nick Hagg. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to those guys. Best of luck to y'all guys. Like I said, I'm still tuning in, watching y'all. So best of luck to y'all. Stay healthy. And then everyone can find me on Instagram at DEVGALL66, DevGal66. But yeah, man, that's all I got.
Appreciate it, man. I wish you the best of luck. And if you ever want to come out of retirement, man, I'll be ready.
Gotcha, man. Appreciate you, Chris. Appreciate you for having me, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm a game changer.